Showtime!
It's bleeding into our minds, bleeding into our culture. It's getting crazy popular overseas. The West has already seen, a rise of anime generally. What's your feelings on that?
I mean, like, we're living it, right? Like, so for us, living the like slow bleed, as you said, the like slow bleed of like seeing the little references here and there in shows and TV and movies, just like here and there, you're like, hey, wait a minute, that's like definitely a JoJo pose, right? That's definitely a JoJo reference in there.
You both live
Like,
in the city,
seeing
and
like
I see it everywhere now, just everywhere. JoJo poses to
it's
T-shirts
crazy.
to.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's just it's been on this slow escalation like for the last 5 years. And then I think we're finally hitting that critical mass point. We're about to hit the like explosive point where, you're not gonna have someone with that stigma of like, anime, isn't that like kids or isn't that for weirdos?
Going
It's
away.
like, yeah, there's that stigma that we kind of grew up with is like almost non-existent at this point. I mean, there's still, very loud people who are like, well, that's just for loners and shut-ins and blah blah blah. It's like, I mean, yeah, it is. That's where the origins of the medium came from, is these people who were shut-ins and loners and didn't have a voice and didn't quite have a group of friends, and their stories about how they found who they are and found their little cliques or their one friend is what makes anime. Honestly, you get those underdog stories, and it's nice to every now and then get like a good mainstream like bursting anime where it's like, yeah, this story is about a really sociable guy who's got really relatable goals and makes all the friends and gets all the bitches and all the money, and I'm looking at you,
Yeah, it's for
Lupin
me.
the Third.
That's me. He's just like me. He gets all the
He's
bitches and
exactly
gold,
like,
and
and the gold,
I don't know.
specifically gold, not money,
Not
gold.
money, not women, but gold. Yeah, kind of talking about that. Yeah, it's almost like it's being spoon fed now to us. We like it or not, it's just in everything we do. I got a little headline here for you from the Japan News. Anime popularity overseas has increased. It has entered a different phase. We have leveled up. We have ascended. According to the U.S. survey a company conducted in 2022, 44% of Gen Z respondents aged 18 to 24 said they watched popular anime. And another report on streaming says the increasing sales anime market was 2.92 trillion yen, more than double that of 10 years ago. And overseas markets saw rapid growth, increasing nearly sixfold. That's insane. That's such a huge number, and probably not just one reason for it, right? Probably multiple reasons for it.
Definitely. Like, when you think like multiple reasons, though, like, what's the first, like, what do you think is the biggest reason that comes to mind? Because I have one that we've touched upon in like other pods, but I want to hear what you think it is.
Any one reason? I think it's just being more readily available to everybody. And I think streaming is maybe one of the number one just culprits of that, because it's just in everything, and you see everywhere multiple sources of different anime just everywhere, and it's just not clicking through a channel, but always being ever present, and you may be being curious about a sort of thing. And I think that's a huge role to play, but also I think how people are discovering the contents for all generations. It's just not for, Saturday morning cartoon watcher kids coming back from school. That's my 2 cents. What do you think?
I think that it's VTubers. That's right. VTubers are the reason everyone's watching anime right now. You find your Oshi, you get obsessed. You go, you know what? If I like this that much, I'll probably like anime. And they're
Mm.
usually wrong. They love anime. They don't just like it. They get obsessed. And then the memes come, and then the memes start bleeding into everything else, and that's just the natural progression of things. But in all seriousness, obviously I think the big um sort of like point that it kind of like broke, you know, like into streaming, I think is like the big thing. It's like streaming obviously changed the landscape for us when we were growing up, but I think that when we are in the midst of the pandemic and all the big Hollywood live action shows were on hiatus, and all the movies had premiered, and there was nothing. The well was, for what they would assume, dry, right?
Mm.
But then they looked at the well right next to the well that they had, and they peered in, and it was overflowing with anime. Years and years of anime untouched. And you have people that are like, well, I know what a Dragon Ball is, but what's a One Piece? Why is there a show called Bleach? What is a Hunter x Hunter? And, we see like the uptick there, right? Like, I think the big uptick was people were at home and have a lot to watch. And you have Gen Z specifically in that age range where they're not so far away from cartoons that they have an aversion to watching them. And a lot of them also grew up with shows that were anime. Like they're just on TV. They're just on cable channels. They were streamed in front of them. They had, the earliest streamers were always doing like reviews and stuff like that of anime. So I think a big part of that is that we had a whole generation that was like sort of semi exposed to it that had an opportunity to like dive in like all the way. And now they're like the young adults right now. They're the young adults like influencing the markets, and they're the ones that are spending the money, and they do the cosplay and all that stuff. And it just really elevated our pre-existing kind of like Western community to like even bigger heights, because we've seen like this big influx into like the hobbyist part of like being an anime enjoyer,
Hmm.
which is cosplay and conventions and crafting and art, and just really like was this beautiful sort of like explosion of like interest into it. And I don't know what your specific experiences are like during the pandemic and COVID and all that, but for me, like me and my kids, like we just saw so many more like at shared spaces like C2E2, like just so many more anime panels, so many more anime booths and merch, and like just people cosplaying stuff that I'm like, they're okay with this character walking around like that? This is okay? They don't they don't wear clothes. Why is this okay?
Why has she only got clouds? What are those
Yeah,
clouds? Are
there's
those
just
cotton
clouds.
balls around her
Yeah.
genitalia or his genitalia?
And then, it's
Yeah.
like a skin colored leotard, but like exactly that.
Yeah, exactly that. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but has there been sort of like a death of the modern cartoon like channel network now as well? Is that still a very relevant thing? Because this might be based on my algorithm, but every streaming site I go to, the number one cartoon-ish looking thing I notice that stands out the most there is anime. And that just might be because it's so oversaturated and there's, stuff for every age. But I don't, maybe I'm not like actively looking as much, but am I crazy to say that like I don't see stuff from Cartoon Network or like Nickelodeon in the same way as I used to? Because, we have so much choice now and things have bought, other things and put on only on one
Hmm.
service, other than Disney, of course. But do you think that might be something to do with it? I'm not really sure about that, but that's just a simple observation of mine.
I'm gonna soapbox for a minute. I think it's just greedy CEOs,
Hmm.
like just really greedy executive, uh, heads making these decisions of like, well, we're not really making money on animation because it's such a big labor sink. We have to pay all these people to make this product that everybody wants, but we're not making a lot of money off of it, um, which is insane, right? that's an insane thing to think or, sort of like theorize that's what's happening, but it very much is happening because the few like modern cartoons that I've had the privilege of watching with my children have been really good. And I mean, like, these are shows that like I'm like, oh, I see what they're doing here. This is a really interesting concept. It's really fun. It doesn't follow the normal like serialized like syndicated stuff. It's like building their own little world and you're having all these cute little adventures. But as soon as it doesn't fit into that episodic rhythm, you see these shows get canceled. As soon as they try to even go anywhere close to the format that anime does, which is usually not an episodic format, it's usually building on some sort of story, even if it's a, short 12 to 24 episode anime.
Over-encompassing
It's
story, usually
usually,
everything. Yeah.
yeah, there's usually an over-encompassing story, or at least something happening in the background that connects everything, or some overarching, like, sort of like theme. It's very rare that we see like episodic anime. And when we do, it's typically comedy. They're usually really good too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking of your Pop Team Epics, your what's the
They're
other
like
one?
they're
The
shorts almost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. You kind of briefly touched on it, but you're talking about how like it's like in everything we do, and I think the stories are also everything we do because there's so many genres of anime, right? You got your sports anime, you got your cooking anime, you got your horror anime, you got, like there's every facet of life kind of depicted in animation. And you don't get that exactly the same way as in like stereotypical, Saturday morning cartoons, right? It's very much like you're saying episodic, not a full encompassing story. That's not true for every single one of them. But that was the gist of it when we were growing up, at least. And then you had stuff like Steven Universe, which is phenomenal, and so forth. And then you get your Adventure Times, and they had kind of like a deep lore with the stuff like the Ice King that kids might not even
Yeah.
really see, and yeah,
Yeah, and I think that speaks to, I mean, obviously that speaks to, you know, our age, but the realness of that is that we lived in a unique time where they were willing to make those choices because, anime was, we were aware of anime and it had its own block, but it wasn't the, prime time stuff that came on. It was your Adventure Times, your regular shows, your Steven Universes, your, Fairly Odd Parents, and, like those types of shows, your Avatars, like those were the shows that were kind of airing when we were kind of in that age range. And now they had like, some scraps from that. Like there's some shows that I'm sure like people would recommend. Like Loud House was one that, my kids were always talking about that they really enjoyed. I know they still have another show called Big City Greens, which is kind of like a continuous, like there's still little shows here and there that are going on that kind of popped up, but then kind of just they didn't get the love and continuation that like a lot of other shows did. Or if they did, once they ended, there wasn't another show like behind it, or if there was another show behind it, it didn't get the same love and attention as the other ones. And like they're so few and far between. Whereas, like you said, anime is so heavily saturated because it's not confined to it needs to appeal specifically to this audience. It's like we're trying to appeal to a specific audience, but we're going to tell like several different types of this story and we're going to see which one sticks, basically. And I think that speaks a lot to the appeal of the way that they handle media and anime versus the Western animation, at least not at the creative level, because I know at the creative level is completely different. A lot of those people are super passionate and want to tell a bunch of stories, but it's harder for them to get greenlit. It's harder for them to get that on screen. And if they get on screen, it's like, you better hope and pray it goes viral, that a meme pops off or, something, because there's not the same kind of like, we have ordered this many episodes and this many seasons and we're going to stick to that. It's like, we have ordered a season, and if it does okay, maybe we can talk about another follow-up season. That won't happen in a reasonable amount of time to keep people engaged and interested in your story, and you better hope and pray memes keep it alive. Like
that's
it's a
crazy how
very,
different it is,
yeah.
right? I mean, just like night and day, like Netflix. If I'd imagine
Oof,
if
oof.
that first season of not Arcane, but the Castlevania didn't do well,
Yeah.
they would probably would have just dropped it, right? Immediately. That's it.
I mean, they almost did, right?
Yeah, they almost did. Yeah, I remember that, which is crazy because
Because
the
we
first
got
season
what?
was amazing.
We got what in that first initial season, we got like what, 7 episodes, 6 episodes?
Mm-hmm.
It was like a very
Something like
small
that.
amount.
Really short, yeah.
Yeah, and they're notorious about that, of these like big passion projects that have a lot of online buzz, of them going like, we're not sure you're gonna have the longevity. You get 5 episodes, make it work.
Crazy,
It's
man.
like,
That's crazy.
what? I can't tell. How do you tell a comprehensive story in 5 episodes?
I would really love to know. I don't know anything about those industries at like a very base level. I'd like really
Mm-hmm.
like to know the huge differences between the Japanese. I mean, Japanese market is made for it, right? They've been doing it forever because maybe they just found a way to do lower cost but more. And the American market, this is the way it's always been expensive. You need to put a lot of money into it, etc. Not really made the same way. So I'd really love to know what the difference is because it's crazy. Because yeah, how often, maybe I'm crazy, but I can't
You are
think of
crazy.
many animes that like got straight up canceled. Nothing really comes to my mind. I know. Well, no, that's not true. The Berserk 2016 reboot is no longer a thing apparently. Okay, that's one out of the billion, but like,
The
there's not many.
most, the most notorious canceled anime.
They usually
And
end up
I think you're
finishing stuff,
100%.
even if it's shitty, even if the
Yeah,
animation's not great, they'll still finish it. So
they will.
yeah,
I mean, there's animes, I know that got like infamous for being horrible, that still got a whole like season run. That still got a full 12 episode season run, and they were dog water. I'm looking at you, X-Arm, Crunchyroll. I'm looking at you, High Guardian Spice on Crunchyroll. Yeah, I'm calling it out. It was an amusing show, but they kind of undersold it a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of that, right? It's a lot of like, they want they don't want to take the big risk in animation, right? They won't do it in animation. They'll do it in a live action show. They'll greenlit the most cookie cutter
hmm
pop drama, somebody's repressed feelings, PTSD bullshit that I've seen a bajillion times, and they'll put it on fucking 7 p.m. prime time for all the boomers to watch.
maybe
And
we're cooking.
it'll get 7 seasons. It'll get 7 seasons.
Maybe we're cooking with
And
that, like that
eventually,
that thought. Go ahead, sorry.
and I think eventually, like, sometimes those shows turn into something of value. Like, they find something while they're like doing the most cookie coated bullshit, and it turns into something cool. That can happen. But like, it's not experimental. It's not risky. And you see that so much more in the anime landscape, of just huge swings. Like, I know we had talked about it last episode where we were recommending some, but Odd Taxi is like, I feel like that's like the prime example of like, we're going to take a huge creative swing on how we present this story. And it just worked.
It was unique and
It just
different,
worked.
and you didn't need any more of it. And there's plenty. We're talking about just how sometimes animation stuff. Again, I kind of want to touch on this before I lose my train of thought. But maybe we have kind of like found why anime is so successful because they finish things and they just don't leave things to rot anymore. Maybe because it's so expensive in America to make any animation that like like they don't produce enough of it. You think that's no, probably
I
not.
mean,
Am I
I'm sure
not
there's some
cooking?
people throwing and punching mirrors. Like, what do you mean they don't finish? They finish things, and they'll
Not
look
finished
and
things, but we're talking just
see.
how volatile the industry in the West is compared to the
Yeah,
East,
yeah,
how
yeah.
they're
Because I was
built
gonna
for it,
say,
right?
there's like all the no game, no life enjoyers
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
flipping tables
sure.
in the Reddit sections
It's
right
not what
now.
I
Like,
meant. I
I
mean,
can't
just like
believe
the industry as a
another.
whole. Well, like why
I can't
we
believe
get so
another
much of one, but we
podcast is
get
doing this.
just how much we get of one compared to we get to the other, and just
Yeah,
maybe because in
yeah,
America how they make
absolutely.
it is just it's like you said, you get like 8 episodes, and if it doesn't do well, that's it. That's crazy. That's absolutely wild. Yeah,
No, I just think there's something, right. Like, there's just something about how we ingest, especially in the West, ingest anime, and it just has this sort of like appeal. Like these stories end up becoming like near and dear to a lot of people's like personalities and the way that they process like life events and emotions, and you see them connecting to it on a really really personal level. Like I've seen people that are like, man, I really really fucking enjoyed Hannibal when it was airing, and it's such a great show, and da 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 da. Yeah, they talk about it that way, but then like the next thing comes out that scratches that itch for them, and Hannibal's not. It's like, oh well, it's like in my top 10 shows, and it's like, yeah, but
Afterthought,
like
yeah.
just a couple of years ago, you're saying it as your best of all time. You know what I mean? Like, but like for there's something consistent I've seen about anime enjoyers is that when they fully relate, fully connect to the story of one of these like shows and have like some deep emotional or intellectual response to it,
Personal.
it stays.
Yeah.
It becomes something they're willing to fight for, something they're willing to make death threats about. Bad side of anime community. I'm looking at you.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, no, I
But
mean,
there's
they get
there's a
insanely passionate about it.
yeah, there's a passion, right? And I mean, what do you feel about like that disparity, right? Like, do you feel like you've seen like a higher level of passion from like anime fans, in the West versus like Western fans that are like, they like whatever they like over here. You know what I mean? Do you see them fighting with the same fervor as somebody who's connected with an anime?
So your question is, what was your question?
The
Sorry.
passion levels, bro.
The passion. Yeah,
The
yeah. I
passion.
mean,
If
I
you
might
could,
be
if you get
biased
a
on this.
passion scouter out,
I mean, I see passion in Star Wars. See passion in Marvel and DC and all that stuff. But the passion for the anime community, it's just, it's unrelenting. I don't know. People wear their pride on their wrists and their shirts, but the anime community just feels like it just bleeds through everything, and I don't know why. I don't know why it's that way. Maybe just we have more of it. We have more stories. We have different characters always, progressing. Things are always constantly changing anime market, and we're kind of stuck with the same old, and that's kind of changing now in the Western audiences. We're finally getting new characters for a lot of these other franchises, and they're exploring different avenues with it. But like we've been stuck with kind of the same universe and the same characters for the most part for a long time. And I don't know, my 2 cents at least. Like I love Batman. He's cool. He's great. But like I've said this a billion times. But like I've heard his story done 30 times over in the past 70 years or how old he is. But like, anime, it's constantly vetted, constantly trying to make something new. And only now are you starting to get, we don't really had this episode, but like the remakes and the reboots.
yeah, okay. I don't want to interrupt you mid thought, but I can't hear you. Let's go.
Thank you. I
I don't.
muted myself. Sorry, folks. I was probably talking way too
No.
long. And we're just going to move on from that. It's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Yeah, anime people, super passionate. Western people, totally not as passionate. No, 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 no. Not at all. Yeah. Where'd you lose me? Doesn't matter.
I think it was like somewhere towards the top, and I was like clicking around, like, is it me? Is it me? Is it me? And I didn't want to interrupt you, but yeah,
Hilarious.
once I
Totally scripted
realized
this
that I
show, by the
had
way, guys. Totally scripted.
uh, we had to actually censor that because Big Brother is watching us. We can't talk bad about them. We actually everything that I'm saying right now, you're probably just hearing. There's no muted part. We had to cut it completely out because Ryan just went off the rails, and I had to rail him. I had to ring him back in. And then he,
He's
he
muted
brought it
for a
back.
purpose. I had
He
a lot
brought it
to
back.
say. But yeah, no, I just to sum it up, I think your question there, anime people are extremely passionate what they do, and I can't. There's not a formula to it. I don't know why. Maybe I'm biased because I'm part of that community. Star Wars, Marvel, all that stuff, equally as passionate. It's just I don't see it the
Mhm.
same degree, and I don't know why. I have no clue why.
I think I could add some insight as someone who kind of like grew up, kind of in those communities too, from like my uncles and my parents who are big like Marvel and DC heads, especially Star Wars as well. So I got very like Star Trek, like I got introduced into like that nerd subculture stuff like very young. And I can say like there's obviously an overlap, right? Because of the passion, and otakus in general typically relate to each other because they're passionate about something. So for their money, they want the characters they love, right? They want the familiarity. They want to see more stories with those characters because, I mean, in all honesty, like they haven't really truly explored a lot of these characters. They just kind of threw them all into a blender, gave us really cool cinematic set pieces, and we haven't really explored a lot of these characters. So for them, they're like, we still have so much that hasn't been delved into that, you know, they kind of hit the main story beats, but we never got to see their actual struggles. We just get to see them come together. And that's a blanket statement for Marvel, DC, and Star Wars, right?
I
You
think you're
could
right.
easily
Yeah, I
apply that
mean,
to any of those.
and especially these big Marvel films now, it takes you a decade to get anywhere with one character. And in the anime, you get their whole backstory in a fucking couple episodes. And if not, when you're done with the season, you at
They
least know a
got
little
that
bit
shit
more.
streamlined, baby.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just the way they do storytelling. Maybe that bottles down to it.
Presentation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
presentation,
And I
how
and
it's
I think
presented, those tropes.
yeah, I think it's 100% that. I think another part of that appeal is the presentation. Like we have our own mythos, like our own, comic books and stuff like that, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't feel as accessible. For whatever reason, there's always this barrier to entry when you want to get into X-Men, when you want to get into, any of Spider-Man, or if you want to know what currently happening in the Batman verse or any of those things. Like you have to do some asking around, and you have to really get involved in the community to just get a good starting point. And even then, most of them will be like, well, this is a good place to start, or that's a good
Mm-hmm.
place to start.
And
And I think it kind of,
kind
yeah,
of touch
good.
on that. It's even harder. I mean, because now all that stuff is owned by different studios, right? Disney owns Marvels. You need to have Disney, for that. Instead of like One Piece, you get One Piece on Netflix, you get One Piece on Crunchyroll, you get One Piece on Hulu, you got One Piece on everywhere. You know what I mean? It branches out. So the accessibility, I mean, I think you really struck a chord there. Like it's, they have these, a DC, I think is more of is it a Max thing now? Is that what the DC
Yeah, I
universe
think
is
it's more of a
usually on,
Max
right?
thing. Yeah.
Max thing, and
Warner
you got your
Brothers is,
Marvel on
yeah.
Disney. So yeah, I mean, it's the accessibility is not
You
as
can't
wide
just,
as anime. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you can't just like get into it easily. You'd have to be some sort of to get into it easily. That's for anybody who ever watches the video of this. The crazy thing that I think is kind of like the blurring of the line, right? Is that we are kind of entering that age of there's more accessibility, right? There's starting to be some branching, the different forms of storytelling happening like right now where we're also outside of getting remakes and reboots and stuff like that, we're getting adaptations. We're getting other interpretations of these stories that are getting presented to a Western audience. And I mean, let's see yeah, we're doing pretty good. I can start talking about it. One Piece. One Piece is it's 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 breaking this. It's been pushing on the seal for a while now, I think, and it just really comes to show that there's something about the specific storytelling of just anime in general that's resonating more these days. And if I could put my finger on it, it's because you're not just following a more serialized story that's following
Mm.
someone over the course of their journey. I think it's also because you're spending time, right? That you're investing the time, and that feels like you're being rewarded, as where let's say you invest the time in the current landscape of any of the Star Wars media, and you
It's
really
everywhere.
got to kind of piece it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to piece it together of like, where are they going with this, right? Especially with the most recent edition. Great concept, but how does that translate to what other, like, where else are they going with that? And then
Right.
they are not. They canceled
What
it.
if you're a kid
They
just starting
canceled it.
Mandalorian? You love Star Wars, be like, where do I start? I this little green guy and this guy in this, this suit are having this
Big
cool
silver guy,
adventures,
little
but
green guy.
how does this relate to the Star Wars universe? You know what I mean? It's not as easy as just, oh, I read volume 1 of One Piece or Dragon Ball or whatever, or the episode, or you know what I mean? You're in that universe itself, and it's very accessible for you the way the Star Wars really isn't, I would argue.
Yeah, you know where to start. You know where to
Exactly.
start.
Exactly. I mean, people would argue, just start episode 4. That's confusing as fuck as well, right? Start where I started, kid. Episode 4, 5, and 6, and then you go back to the prequels, 1, 2, and 3, and then you go forward to 7, 8, and 9, and you're like, what? How does that make sense chronologically? You know what I mean? I don't know, but
It doesn't.
it doesn't.
It
Yeah.
doesn't. That's why. I mean, they did everything in their power to make it make sense, but I think that's a prime example of what I'm talking about. It's especially like growing up before we even had the internet. It was like, hey kid, do what I did. This is the proper watch order. And it's like, what do you mean proper watch order? Shouldn't I just be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever? No.
Hmm.
You have to start at issue number 96, which is where this story takes place. And then once you finish that, you have to find the run of the other superhero that's mentioned briefly in this comic run, which continues the story. And then once you've completed that, come back to this one, and issue number 276, which continues the story. Don't worry about anything else because it doesn't correlate to the story. Like, it became
It's
convoluted for no reason.
I think it's putting it lightly. Yeah, I mean, I'm a comic fan. You know what I mean? I grew up with comics, and it's just all over the place now. I kind of want to touch this on briefly because we were talking about how like it branches into like everything. Music is a huge thing about anime. Mostly every anime
Mm.
has some kind of opening theme, some type of ending thing, And
Yeah.
now, I got a little little thing I found out, researched up. Business Worldwide .com was saying that anime stream music is increased by 395% on Spotify since 2021, and 95%. And that's just it's because it's more accessible now, right? And we're talking about just
Mhm.
accessibility, but also branches a whole new medium of discovering different bands and music and part of their culture and how that translates. Because bands get popular from anime in Japan, just based on being part of that anime.
Yeah.
That opening
Yeah.
theme that's going to catch you. That very shortened version of that, like minute 20 seconds maybe of seeing the whole arc being played before your eyes, or what's to come, or the ending that could be nice and mellow, or you know what I mean. What's your take on the anime music stuff?
I'm an absolute WHORE for that shit. That is like, I get that Spotify recap and they're like, man, you really like anime music, huh? And I'm like, I do. So like, I'm contributing like 20% at least to that number. But all joking aside, I think the crazier part of that is that we've seen an uptick in like international audience, right? So like we've seen like them catering more to us as an international audience as opposed
Really
to,
are.
we've had Spotify around for like what, 10 plus years now at this point.
Something like that,
And
yeah.
it's only within the last few years that I've seen that I've had access to the fucking Naruto OST, which is one of my favorite OSTs ever. And I mean OG Naruto with like the little sitar and guitar at the
Mm-hmm.
same, like electric guitar at the same, like I love that soundtrack. It's so good. But unless you bought like a physical version or
CD or
did some others,
wherever. Where did you
yeah,
find that shit
yeah,
usually,
like,
right?
yeah, exactly. And you have to hunt it down. Now you don't have to hunt it down if you want to listen to the opening tracks, like you said, the endings, or any of the like actual composed music in between. All of that is becoming more accessible because
And
these
trendy,
companies
trendy.
overseas are,
I don't know if
man,
you've noticed, but in the conventions, or like anime vinyls are a huge thing now,
yeah,
apparently, which
yeah,
is blowing my
yeah,
mind
dude.
away. So
It's really
yeah,
cool.
it is really cool.
It's such a, again, like you said, there's something about the music too that kind of like also ties it all together. And I think there's just so many levels of care that's still happening in the production of anime that we're starting to see return to a Western audience, I think. I think a great example of a good project that I've seen recently, it wasn't anime, it wasn't animated, but we watched Agatha all along. And
Yeah.
I mean, from start to finish, it was just good. It was good. They knocked that shit out of the park. All the naysayers be damned. It was a very good show. Was it the best thing I've watched this year? I've watched a lot of anime, guys. Gotta say no. But it was really good. It's easily in my top 5 things I've watched. Easily in top 5 things I watched. And again, from the music to the set design, the sound design, the
Was it
casting, and
was
like
it a musical?
no, it was like
Music-ish?
there was musical numbers in it.
Okay. Got it. Got
There
it.
was a big musical component to the show, and there was a huge payoff for that. And I absolutely love that shit. I love when from start to finish there is an idea that is executed and pulled off, and at no point in time did I feel like they deviated from that vision, right? Like it just was a fully well thought out show that could stand on its own 2 legs and only sort of needs you to know something about WandaVision. And that is it. That's it. We need more of that. It can be connected to the wider universe, but the show itself, the show,
Let it be
not
its
the
own thing.
lore.
Yeah.
It's got to be its own thing.
Yeah.
And even when we get anime that's connected to another anime, that shit still stands on its own 2 feet.
It
Like
really does. Yeah. I mean,
9 times out of 10.
too much now has to be a sequel or branching over, some kind of franchise, and it really hurts the project. I've noticed, at least in American media, like if it's not a season 2, we're not doing it. Like, what's the point? It's everything's for profit, right? I definitely see more. Not saying anime is not for profit, very much is, but
Yeah.
you know, high stakes all the time over here in the West, and I think that also has something to do with it. You know what I mean? If it's not a banger and make us more money down the line, why are we producing it?
I got a follow up question because you brought up the for profit thing, and it's kind of been like a background question right now. Do you think, here's my thing, do you think Western media would be more flexible if they had the kind of merch market that anime has with figurines
Oh,
and vinyls
man,
and collectibles and body pillows and
you're speaking my language. The rise of plastic is what you're talking about. Yeah, the
yeah,
consumer
recycle that
goods.
plastic into give me that Agatha all along 16-inch limited edition figure. I'll buy it.
If you're anything Marvel, they really try to do that. And obviously their animated films and their classics always do amazing. Their princesses, those always tested well. Or their Pixar movies have been great. But I'm sure the Marvel stuff does amazing too. But as a whole, putting that aside, the big franchises, yeah, I think it would matter probably less because they're like, Star Wars is a huge thing back in the day, but like they knew they're getting return on their Kenner action figures. And they're like, oh, okay, well, this can do a killer in merch. It's all right if it doesn't make $1 billion in, the second one or whatever. But yeah, I think it would be a huge benefit, huge benefit if they maybe we need some Hulk body pillows, maybe we need some. I don't know. What's some random stuff we can think of? What's
I
something would you not want?
I I think I think I think here's my thing.
John
Those
Wick.
things
Sorry,
exist.
good.
I'll take a John Wick body pillow. I have no shame saying that. None. He can protect all the dogs in my house. Uh,
Yeah.
um, the I think the issue is the approach, right? So like licensing and all this other stuff is way different over here. They're not commissioning statues and figurines and things like that to people who are passionate about it, who have certain proclivities, if you will. They're not worried about are you going to put this action figure in a jar? You know what I mean? Like they're not
Yeah.
they're not worried about that.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
My whole point is that like merch is like there. It's there, but it's not. It just doesn't feel the same. I just don't know what it is. Like, there's just something about when, like, Good Smile is announcing their next fucking Ninja Droid and people are fucking losing their shit over a fucking
Something so
chibi-eyed
small,
version
right?
of,
Yeah,
yeah, and they'll pay $100 for that.
they're really streamlined with everything they do, right? Every anime, I mean, not every anime, but like the majority of anime, even when it first launches, there's some kind of merch for it in every way, shape, or form, in stationery to bath towels to things you cook with. You know what I mean? Like it's just in everything daily, daily life things, and we don't get that the same way over here. I'm not saying everything
Not for
needs
every,
to
yeah, not
have
for,
a clothing
yeah,
line or
not
some shit like
definitely,
that, but
God, no. But also that, oh my God, I'm glad you brought up clothing line. Bro, the disparity of the drip between like a generic ass Marvel t-shirt and then like you pay way too much money for a stamped thing on a t-shirt and then they'll be like, there's only 200 of these shirts ever made and that's why they're really valuable. Whereas you see like my favorite example is when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, they collabed with this thing called Super Cuties, and it was just all the drippiest shit I've ever seen in my life. And they were like, limited edition for Kingdom Hearts 3,
oh
come
man,
get it.
yeah,
And it immediately sold out. And it was just in the style of the game. I'm just saying that like if we had more collaborations like that instead of just them selling off certain licensing, we'd see a different thing. And I think we're starting to see it. I think we are starting to see it because I've seen some cool like overcoats and stuff come out of recent, like, oh, this coat was sponsored by this person and we made it for this reason. And I think we're starting to see that, but I think
more
a
collabs.
big
Yeah, I mean,
opportunity
well,
is
one
that.
thing I saw was like, I mean, recently, in the new Venom movie, for example, they made some like very exclusive Venom and Spider-Man shoes that look dope as fuck, but they sold out like in 3 seconds. Um, so they're doing it, but it's so exclusive. It's so exclusive. And I mean, one person who was never a huge shoe head growing up, Puma announced the One Piece shoe line, and I went fucking nuts. I got myself some Gear 5s, and I got me some buggy shoes. And let me tell you, they look sexy. They look good. And to go with your anime T-shirt, and or maybe you do a casual cosplay. There's so many layers to it, right? But yeah. I mean, you're seeing more of the drip out, and especially anime clothes, particularly. I feel like everyone's trying to get a piece of that pie. I see advertised
I mean,
everywhere.
we wouldn't be talking about it right now if that's the, I mean,
I
and I
mean,
think that's kind of where this conversation sort of caps off at, is that now, now everybody's hungry for it. Now everybody wants their piece. Everybody wants to get, their little slice of the anime pie, so to speak, especially with the just really oddly timed success of the live action One Piece adaptation. Like, it's just so weird that we had a weird success like that come from left field, that now we're seeing like an uptick of like, oh well, maybe we can market this towards a older audience and all that, which that to varying degrees of success.
yeah.
So uh I just think that it's really interesting to kind of be alive right now in these times that are changing, in this 6 month hiatus of One Piece. Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up. I miss it. I miss
Man, I
I
miss
miss
it
new
too. Miss
episodes
it
of
too,
One
buddy.
Piece.
Fantastic show, but they need a break. They need a break. We are just
Yeah, they
talking about
deserve
how
it. They
everyone's
deserve
trying to
it.
get a piece of the anime pie. You know who's really trying to get an anime piece of the pie? It's official.
What's that anime pie? Who?
The Vatican has unveiled their own cute anime girl mascot. Name, probably pronounced this incorrectly, but Luce. I'm gonna call it Luke, Luca maybe, which means light in Italian. And apparently it's going to debut its first time ever at a Italian comic convention. So my question for you, I mean, the
Mhm.
Catholic Church is ahead of the game when it comes to religious mascots. They're double dipping at this point. Does
They're
this
double
mean
dipping.
we will see the rise of other religious mascots in the future? maybe Judaism, Buddhism, Satanic Temple, Gothic cutie, maybe. A cute Gothic
Listen,
demon, maybe mascot.
I think that last one you're cooking. I think we need to edit that out and we need to submit that. Be like, hey guys, you've been going about it wrong. This is how you need to just the super thick goth cutie witch lady. Really kind of. Uh, I think they're taking a very unique perspective on the influence of something like this can have. But I mean, there's already a lot of Catholics out there, so really, you just kind of you're catering to the ones that exist, and then kind of reassuring them that like, hey, we're not out of touch.
Yeah,
Anime,
maybe, I just look at it as a device maybe to get to the younger audience in a way,
100%
which
is.
I understand. My only question is, of all those maybe possible new mascots, will the Church of Scientology have one? Who would it be? Would it be just be like a chibi Tom Cruise, Nendoroid
Jimmy
type
Tom
character?
Cruise.
Or like Ethan Hunt from the Possible, Mission Impossible series? Uh,
God, a Jimmy Tom Cruise,
I don't know.
the
Who
first apostle.
shit, man.
I think I think we're kind of, in my opinion, it feels like we're kind of on the cusp of some weird cyberpunk future where there's anime VTubers that are proselytizing
Oh my God.
for like I don't know. I don't. It's as soon as I heard this stuff, as soon as I saw the memes, I'm like, I don't know where the world's going anymore. I don't know what direction we're headed anymore. But it's
I love the
interesting.
memes. The memes are amazing.
It's so good. It's so good. And of course, there's a JoJo reference, guys. Of course, there is. You think there's not a JoJo reference for this? There's a JoJo reference.
Like, I just maybe we'll be the first. Maybe we'll be the creators of the new meme. People will listen to this episode and be like, you know what? I am gonna draw that. Yeah, I am gonna design these things. I mean, why not? Like
I mean,
everything else gets anime.
I'm sure. I was gonna. I'm sure somebody's out there cooking and like they have it in their like their whips. They got
Oh,
their
no.
WIPs like, and they're like, if I share this, it's either gonna go resoundingly good or I'm going to get absolutely mobbed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Because it's a sensitive subject. It's an
really
incredibly
is.
sensitive subject, and it's wild for the Catholic Church themselves to be like, nah, we did it ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, to their credit, the mascot is completely adorable looking, and
Adorable.
and a really
Adorable.
small little girl in a raincoat. She's got her walking stick to go on her, her pilgrimage, and she's adorable looking. You know how the internet be though. Like you'll probably see,
We know the internet.
yeah, several different versions of the other religious aspects.
I'm afraid for whatever the future holds with that. But it is amazing to see just how far we've come in like our lifetimes of how much appeal anime has like it just uh, it is the most niche thing when we're growing up, and now it's like commonplace, and that's for a lot of people a scary thing, but it's like my favorite thing because it is something that I get to share. It's something I get to like talk about at work. I have younger guys that ask me a bunch of questions about like, oh, well, like, what did you watch when you were growing up? And
Oh,
da da
man,
da. And
the wise old sage.
I just started watching. Yeah, I just started watching One Piece, and I caught up, and da da da. I was like, oh, you caught up? Yeah. How's your with the manga, right? And they're like, wait, One Piece is a manga? I'm like, sweet baby
Whoa,
boy, sweet baby girl. Let me tell you about manga.
open up their world, man. Yeah. So something about anime, guys. You don't know what it is, but it is definitely in the water in America. It is branching everywhere, every demographic, every age, particularly younger people, but also just I see older people getting into it more as well. Yeah.
I will say that yesterday when I was on the train, I saw an older black gentleman watching a VTuber for the entire train ride.
A VTuber, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
Yeah, I just kind of looked up and I was like, maybe I'm seeing things. Maybe he's like scroll. That man did
Yeah.
not scroll. That was a live stream. He was watching his Oshi.
You'll
You love to see it. You
yeah, yeah.
absolutely love to see it. But that's what I'm saying. Like it's there's an appeal there that I kind of latched onto when I was young that I didn't. You couldn't have told me back then, hey, this thing, it's gonna blow up. It's gonna be huge. Because
Put some stocks in
for
it,
all the
kid.
praise we're giving
It's
it,
going
yeah,
somewhere.
for all the praise we're giving it, it's still really fucking weird, guys. It's still really fucking weird sometimes. If you're watching
Maybe
Dan to Dan, it's pretty fucking weird.
maybe even more unhinged and weird than even what it used to be. And I thought that was, for the time, nuts. But I think they're really kind of stretching some of these genres or just
I
doing
mean,
them
you
too
brought
much.
up,
What I bring up.
yeah, like get us out. Yeah, I was gonna say you brought it up. Get us out of high school, guys.
Yeah,
We're older
please,
now. You
please,
can
less.
still have some. You can have some of your high school. You can have some of your high school. Hey, we're here too.
Yeah,
We're
have
older.
it.
We like anime.
You and me be my wet dream. Starting anime. I just graduated high school. I'm entering the job field. I'm entering. Hell yeah, this is relatable. Relatable as fuck. But
I can't believe my senpai is my boss in my new job that I'm working at.
yeah. Give it to me. Give it to me. And then, they somehow enter the satanic temple of, whatever, and it's a whole power level thing and it's nuts. And, I would be
And then
into
you
it.
meet their mascot. And then you meet their mascot, Lucy Chan, not to be confused with Lucci Chan
Luch.
from the Catholic Church. Lucy Chan, who is the satanic mascot. Look,
My
we're
God.
just telling you right now, Satanic Church worshippers, you got gold just sitting there. It's right there.
We're
It's right
calling
there.
it right here. It's
Just take
gonna
it.
be a shonen battle anime very soon.
Yo,
Probably not.
it's gonna be like Record of Ragnarok, but just
Yeah.
with actual anime mascots.
Yeah, that could be cool. I'd be down for that.
I like how you're processing that in real time. You're like, what? What? Watch that.
What I don't know. It would be again. We're talking how like unhinged and random stuff become. I wouldn't bat an eyelash at that. I really wouldn't actually.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. I'd watch it. I'd give it a chance. Probably like 3 episodes at least.
but this has been another episode of Filler Mondays, guys. Tell us, why do you think the anime industry, anime in generally has been blown up in America so much, in the West as much as it has? What do you think is influencing that? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Put in our comments, drop us a line. D, do you have anything say to them about that?
Yeah, just I mean, follow us on all the socials. I'm putting us out on everything. We're gonna be on Blue Sky. We're gonna be on X. We're gonna be
Blue
on TikTok. We're
Sky.
gonna be on Instagram. We're gonna be everywhere. We're just gonna blanket the whole. We're gonna fill in everything. Eh?
No social media left unfilled. I like it. No unfulfilled
Yep.
dreams.
Filler Mondays. Filler
Love it.
Mondays. We're just gonna fill. We're filling it all here at Filler Mondays. All the socials filled in.
Fill in your dreams with
Yeah,
hope
but I'm
and laughter and
yeah.
unhinged
Just
takes.
like I said, what are you feeling out there? Where do you guys see it going?
You think it's gonna
Let us
crash and
know.
burn? You think Disney is gonna buy
I think it's
everything?
gonna crash and burn.
Yeah.
I
We're gonna
think
get
I
that
think
anime
I think
bubble.
the Macy's Day Parade where Luffy's hat exploded was an
Oh my
omen,
God,
and
yeah.
that's
Well,
I think there's no hope. Sorry guys, this is the peak. We're never gonna be here again.
well,
Macy's Day
hopefully
Parade.
his hat doesn't get blown up again this year.
Is it? See, and there we go. Are we gonna see more anime pop up in like Western media like this? Like, are we gonna get another Luffy inflatable this year at the Macy's Day Parade?
Yeah, we got Goku, we got Luffy. All I'm saying is we don't got Naruto. We don't got Naruto. Just saying. Just saying. All right,
Don't
guys, we're
start,
getting out of
Brian.
here.
Absolutely, do not start.
We're getting out of here.
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, we're getting out. Bye.
Game out.
Bye.
Bye bye.
See ya. Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye.